Hi YouTube, it's Allie, also known as Allie's Books and Creativity. Today we are doing something different, and it's called Stories I Devoured This Month. So we're going to focus it on today for the months of January and February because I didn't do one in January nor in February, so we're going to collide them together. And then starting either the end of this month, which is March, like March 31st, or early April, I'll do Stories I Devoured in March. So after this video, it'll only be one month at a time, once a month. So further ado, let's get started. On my phone here, it says I have, if my phone can stop being a butt, it says I have read 6 books and I've watched 4 TV shows and movies. And that's a total of 6 plus 4, which is 10. So 10 stories out of January and February, because they were kind of slow for me when it comes to stories, and time just went so fast. I have a feeling March is going to go very slow because I'm anticipating something at the end of the month on a weekend. So yeah, it's gonna go very slow. So yeah, and then I have to do something in the middle of the month. So you know how that is. Yeah. When you're looking forward to something, it goes slower. When you're not looking forward to something, you're just enjoying minding your own business, it goes faster. So yeah. All right, so let's get started. The first story I devoured in January or February is right here, which is Air by Saba Tahir. This book emotionally destroyed me. I have no words. But it was a really good read and stuff. And I highly recommend Saba Tahir's stories. When you read this one first before her Ember quarter, you're gonna kind of go in confused. So start with her Ember 4-book series quarter and then get to Air. So you work your way up. So this I gave a 5-star rating. So speaking of this, that the stories I devoured for the month are going to be star ratings. So this is a definite 5 stars. The next story I devoured in the month of January or February is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. This is a short story based on her Caravel series. I loved Caravel and I loved her spin-off Once Upon a Broken Heart, but this was more like to me, it gave me more Christmas holiday vibes of Caravel. What rating did I give it at? Oh, that's right. This one was lower than the other books. All the other books were like 5 stars. This one unfortunately made 4.25 stars. So the reason why it lacked, because it takes a lot for me to like a short story. But deep down, I knew the characters and everything. I got to see, if I can find a cool picture for you. Let me see if I can find a good picture for you guys without any paper cuts. One that doesn't look so Christmassy. Like, you see this? It has illustrations. Illustration. You find another good illustration. 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 It goes from illustration to illustration on a few pages. So yeah, that was a 4.25 out of 5 stars. It was higher than normal short stories I read because I personally thought the illustration was great. Just the story plot line lacked a little for me. So yeah. The next story I devoured in January or February is Curious Tides by Pascal Laisselle. This one really made me think, and excuse my French, I'm just gonna say this. From this story, I did not know much shit about the moon until I read this book. So, yeah, I now know more about the moon than I thought. What's the rating I gave this one? I gave this one was a lot higher than Spectacular. It was 4.7 4.75. No, let me rephrase that. 4.75 stars. There, that makes more sense. 4.75 stars. It was good, almost a 5 star. I think it didn't make the 5 star because it started off very slow. But it was, I liked how educational they are with the moon in this book. So yeah, definitely pick this up. I'm trying really hard to get book 2, but then I heard Barnes and Noble's gonna have book 2 out in their on their shelves in November, so I'll probably get it by then, or I don't know, ask it for Christmas in December of this year. It's only March 3rd, so yeah. The next story I devoured in the month of January or February is Better Than Revenge by Casey West. This was an enemies to lovers story. Like I said, it came out by the end of the year last year, the last day. I'm not going to go into spoilers. Just read the book. Read. So, yeah. It's a sports podcast, enemies to lovers. Highly recommend this book. I gave it a 5-star rating, and it was a great book. I really loved it. I enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. That's what I'm going to leave it as. The next story I devoured in January or February is Exo Kitty on Netflix season 1 and 2. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't know about you, but if you are not watching Exo Kitty, what are you doing with your life? You have to watch the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy. If you haven't, you gotta watch that. Or read the books, or do both. And then watch Exo Kitty seasons 1 and 2. So please do that for me. Please. You're gonna be in oohs and ahs and oh my gosh. So yes, please do that. And I gave it a rating of the rating Exo Kitty got season 1 and 2 was 4.75 stars. And that was, I finished season 1 in a week, and I finished season 2 in a week. It's like 1 week back to back. Don't skip out on this one. The next story I devoured in the month of January or February is Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a short story to her for the Inheritance Games series and spin-off. The sequel to the spin-off is, so far I know, is coming out in July. She just announced another short story based on these characters coming out in November. What is that one called again? Let me go on her Instagram page. Oh my gosh, Allison, you are stalking like crazy. Nah, I just forgot what the book was called because she just announced it today. And it's called, whoops, wrong account. I don't care about that account. Here we go. It is called The Same Backward and as Forward. So The Same Backward as Forward. She is releasing it in November of 2025. And if you read Games Untold, you'll get it. If you haven't, you're going to be so confused. So read the series and then read the first book in the spinoff, and then read Games Untold and come back to me. So this is what she wrote. Sometimes there are characters you just can't get out of your head. That is what happened to me when I sat down to write an Inheritance Game prequel novella last year for Games Untold, and it ended up slightly novel length instead. And still, I could not stop thinking about Hannah and Toby. and then I let myself write a tiny bit from his perspective, just a little treat. And then I just could not stop. I promised my editor that Toby's side of the story really would be a novella, but will end up longer than Hannah. So coming to you in November will be a beautiful luxe standalone version of the same backward as forward, containing both sides of the story. When you finish reading her side, you flip the book upside down over and read this. So what the entire book is. Oh, so it's a whole story length. One side is, so how can I word what she said? So like Replica from by Lauren Oliver. One side you're reading Lyra's story. Then you flop, you read Gemma's story. So she's gonna do that with Hannah and Toby, and that's coming out around the holidays. Genius move, Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Genius move. Yeah, but this one was like a lot of short stories, but it was a full length. It felt like short story. So I gave it, according to my notes, I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. So it's 3.75 stars. Just like I said, short stories takes a lot for me to like. But this book was decent. I thought it was a decent book. So, moving on. The next story I devoured in January or February is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So this became available on Paramount Plus on February 18th. And I was so excited because I remember seeing it in the theater for the first time back in December of 2024. And I was just like, Sonic this, Shadow this, Knuckles, Tails, da 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 da. Oh, this character's coming, but I'm not gonna say who. You gotta watch the movies. You gotta watch it because number 4 is coming out in 2027. So yeah, definitely saw this. Obviously, 5 stars. It never disappoints and it never gets old. The next story I devoured in January and February is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on Netflix, which is based on the stories trilogy of Holly Jackson. So when you watch this, there's a little different aspects compared to the book, just a little tad. So they changed some different stuff, I notice. This one, what did I give it? What did I give it in my ratings notes? I gave it a 4.25 out of 4.25 stars. It didn't get the 5-star because there's a scene in the first book that I didn't like watching, and I don't want to go into spoilers if you haven't read the book, so I'm not going to say what. And it always hits me at home because something like that similar, how can I word it? Something like that, dealing with something like that similar happened to me last month, and it just hit, not last month, in January, and it just hit home. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that to be on screen. You don't want to know how many times I had to hold in from bawling because to me it was a trigger. It was a trigger. So there were some triggering points I was like, okay, I'm getting triggered. My moods are off. I didn't know how to explain it to anyone, so I just kind of shut down and just binge watched the whole season. It was just season 1. Season 2's been announced, but we don't know when that's coming yet. I don't think we know. If you guys know, please comment down below. If it's to be determined, don't worry about it. You don't have to comment. But yeah, it was just season 1, and I almost cried a few times really hard. I just had to. Then I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna shut down and just watch the show and just drink my life away with tea, and that's what I did, and read my books while watching the show. So yeah, it wasn't a healthy way to do that, to express my emotions, but that's me. All right, we're just gonna move on. Next topic. The next story I devoured in the month of January or February is Maybe This Time by Casey West. Whoa! We have some Casey West action going on here, I see. So this one was more like different holidays. It started with Valentine's Day, and then it went from Valentine's Day to Mother's Day to like it's basically like she helped plan events like weddings, funerals, parties, you name it. And there's this mysterious guy who has his eye on her, and she's like, eh, eh. And then like she's like, oh, I think we have feelings for each other. Throughout the story, I was like, come on, just get in love with him. Just get in love with him. And finally, so you know one of those stories? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, this one was a 4 out of 5 stars. So 4 stars. Very well written. Good job, Casey West. You make me proud. The last story I devoured in the month of January or February is Sonic Prime on Netflix, season 1, 2, and 3. Whoa, February was a Sonic month, definitely. This was really interesting. I'm not going to go into the plot. Like, it makes you think when you watch this, and the humor in it was like typical Sonic humor. Sonic the Hedgehog humor. So, how can I word this? I would like watch this, read my books. I was doing a readathon and watching this. I called it the Netflixathon, readathon, Netflixathon. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that in my video uploads. It needs some love. And I would say the rating I gave to this, 5 stars. Like the action was great, the crime fighting was great. Like I highly recommend. Like the world building was great. Like I highly recommend it, and also the character development, it was great. So please, if you haven't watched Sonic Prime, there's only 3 seasons. They're only like 20 something minutes long. Maybe 30 the most. There's one episode that's longer. It's like 40, 45 minutes because you're just getting into the story, but it gets really good. So please watch this. I highly recommend this. And if you're not watching this, you're missing out. And that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. Those were the stories I devoured in the month of January and February. So if you want to share what stories you devoured in January and February, whether it's books, movies, TV shows, video games, because starting next month, if I play a video game, we're adding video games for the story. Because video games have a story plot line too. Even though I did play a video game in January briefly, but then I had to stop because I just got so busy. And I was just enjoying more books and TV shows. So yeah. Other than that, I will see you all again next time. More content is coming your way. If you want to subscribe to my channel, feel free to subscribe on the button down below and press that notification bell, and so you can be notified with my content coming your way. And I will see you all again soon. Bye!